there's nothing like a good wedding to bring a family together, right? Well, maybe not in the case of the British royals. Forget the glitz and glam of Princess Diana's wedding. Some royal weddings weren't exactly what they seemed. In fact, some of them were pretty damn awkward, and it's all thanks to one very drunk king. It was November 4th, 1692, when the Protestant William III of Orange and his cousin Mary II became king and queen of Blingy, but also a glimpse into a marriage that would be marked by political necessity rather than genuine affection. However, while this marriage might have been a sham, other unions were far from ideal for other reasons, but the festivities surrounding their nuptials were far from joyful. But what many do you know is that her journey to becoming the powerful empress began with a disastrous wedding night. You see, Catherine was betrothed to Arthur, Prince of Wales, the heir to the English throne. After Arthur's untimely death, Catherine found herself in a unique position. She was still considered married, but now her sights were set on the throne. But here's a twist. He wasn't really into her. Don't get me wrong. Alexander was head over heels in love, just not in a conventional way. You see, his heart belonged to his close companion, and as the wedding night drew near, Alexander felt torn between his duty to his bride and his true affections, and his new bride, Maria Josepha of Saxony, which was meant to unite two noble houses and secure a political alliance. But this seemingly joyous occasion turned into a nightmare for the bride. See, Henry VIII came along, and Catherine wanted to marry him, and here's why. You see, Louis had lost his first wife, Maria Clementine, to smallpox just a year prior, and he was still mourning her loss deeply. You see, she was chosen to wed Ferdinand II, Duke of Saxony, and their marriage was meant to solidify an alliance between Austria and Saxony. His attendants struggled to console him, and the situation grew increasingly dire as he refused food and drink, leading to fears for his health and well-being. She started crying and screaming, much to the annoyance of the wedding guests who were eager to celebrate, and then things took a turn for the worst. Ferdinand, on the other hand, was less than pleased with his new bride's breakdown and extravagant of settings. The human element of love, loss, duty, and desire cannot be ignored. The wedding night may be a time for celebration and new beginnings, but it can also be a prelude to a lifetime of challenges and complexities. From the political machinations of royal courts to the personal struggles of those involved, each story is a reminder that beneath the surface of tradition and ceremony lies a rich tapestry of emotions and experiences that continue to shape our world today, and refuse to share a bed with her, leading to a lifelong estrangement between the couple. Maria Josepha's fear and anxiety reached a fever pitch, and she began convulsing violently, eventually losing control of her bladder and defecating on the floor. To make things worse, her ladies-in-waiting fled, leaving Maria Josepha alone to face her fate. Over time, the couple developed a strong bond, and Maria Josepha became a beloved figure in Austrian society. Yet the shadow of that fateful wedding night lingered, serving as a reminder of the unexpected challenges that can arise even in the most opulent of circumstances. They told her that Ferdinand had a reputation for being difficult and violent, and that their wedding night would be far from conventional. Apparently, he had a habit of bringing random women to his bed, and no one knew what he had planned for the night. But there was a problem. The Catholic Church taught that once a woman was married, she couldn't be married again unless her first spouse was dead. As the ceremony commenced, the bride looked radiant, and the marriage contract was read aloud, signifying the union of two families and the strengthening of their political alliance. However, little did she know that her new husband was overcome with grief and unable to consummate the marriage. And guess who was the perfect solution? Yep, you got it. The church needed proof that Catherine and Arthur had not consummated their marriage to allow the annulment. And boy, did they find it. But their marriage was a bit of a rocky one. The annulment was granted, and Henry went on to marry Catherine Howard. This separation also marked a significant shift in England's relationship with the Roman Catholic Church. To make matters worse, his counselors were less than discreet about their disapproval of the situation, adding to the tension and awkwardness of the night. Despite the complications, Alexander and Statira did produce a son together, making for a complicated family dynamic. While Alexander's feelings for Hephaestion were evident, his actions towards his wife revealed the emotional turmoil he faced in balancing his personal feelings with his public duties. With Catherine's first marriage coming under scrutiny, Henry ultimately broke away from the church, establishing the Church of England and declaring himself supreme head of the church. Talk about a dramatic turn of events, all because of a wedding night. You see, the consummation of their marriage was a point of contention, with some believing that it never took place and others insisting that it did. This debate had far-reaching implications, reshaping the course of English history. Now, if you're wondering why this detail matters, let me fill you in. You see, Catherine was considered the legitimate empress consort after the ceremony, but Peter's lack of enthusiasm put paid to any hopes of a blissful union. In fact, the whole marriage was a sham from the start. Both Catherine and Peter were seeing other people before the wedding, and their relationship was purely a political move to strengthen ties between Russia and Prussia. When Catherine, a 17-year-old German princess, arrived in Russia to marry the future Peter III, She was immediately taken aback by his childish behavior. He spent his time playing with soldiers and building elaborate structures instead of focusing on his studies or ruling. In fact, the sun-to-be newlyweds only met for the first time on their wedding day, making for a very awkward first impression. And who do you think was trailing behind them? Yep, you guessed it, the same king with his golden tank. Reports say that King Charles lurked outside the door to catch another quick glimpse of the happy couple. However, the exact nature of their relationship remains a mystery, leaving historians to speculate about the events of that fateful night and the political machinations that truly drove this unusual union. But thankfully, or maybe not so thankfully, he was spotted and asked to leave. Finally, the newlyweds were able to get some privacy. Or were they? Well, maybe not until after Mary had a miscarriage that resulted in an early demise. You see, King Charles II wasn't exactly thrilled about giving up the throne to William and Mary, who were his daughter and son respectively, so he decided to attend the wedding, which took place at St. Paul's Cathedral, and watch them consummate their marriage. That's right, the old king wanted to peek at his son and daughter-in-law getting busy, and he did so while drinking heavily from a golden tankard presented to him by the master of the horse. Yes, you heard that right. The groom's father was stumbling around the room, while swigging from a golden tankard during his child's wedding. Talk about awkward. But it gets worse. According to reports, the now-married couple left the reception at around 11:30 p.m., heading back to their chambers at the Palace of Whitehall. While the marriage of William III and Mary II might seem like a strange footnote in history, it was actually a pivotal moment. It established the House of Orange as the new royal line in England, and paved the way for the country's entry into the War of the Grand Alliance against France and for the Bill of Rights of 1689. Their reign also witnessed the Anglo-Dutch War, the War of the Spanish Succession, and the First Jacobite Rising, all of which were aimed at restoring the Stuart dynasty to power. But amidst these major historical events, it's important not to overlook the more intimate moments of their relationship, or should we say lack thereof. After all, their wedding night was not just a prelude to a turbulent reign. Catherine the Great's rise to power in Russia is a story well known throughout history. To make matters worse, rumors swirled that the wedding night was never consummated, adding another layer of weirdness to an already bizarre situation. Despite the rumors of non-consummation, Catherine gave birth to several children, leading many to believe that eventually the deed was done. Let's now travel back in time to 1501 to meet the infamous Catherine of Aragon, whose wedding night would ignite one of the biggest religious upheavals in history. If you're scratching your head trying to figure out why, let me break it down for you. Allegedly, Catherine had a miscarriage, which served as evidence that the marriage was never consummated, and the rest, as they say, is history. Next, let us travel to ancient Macedonia in 323 BC to meet Alexander the Great on his wedding night with his new bride. On the fateful night, he sought solace in Hephaestion's company, ignoring Statira completely. As we reflect on Alexander's wedding night, it's clear that even the greatest conquerors were not immune to the complexities of love, duty, and desire. In 1799, a wedding took place between Louis Ferdinand, Duke of Rio. When Louis entered his bride's room that night, he was overcome with emotion and collapsed in tears, convinced that he was about to marry a ghost. Maria Josepha, on the other hand, was unaware of the turmoil that awaited her on her wedding night. Despite the emotional toll, Maria Josepha remained steadfast and compassionate towards her husband, offering him comfort and support in his time of need. And finally, let's talk about the scandalous wedding night of Maria Josepha Malia, a young bride who was about to embark on a terrifying journey into the unknown. But here's the thing. On the night before the wedding, Maria Josepha received a chilling warning from her ladies-in-waiting. Unsurprisingly, Maria Josepha was terrified, and her anxiety quickly turned into a full-blown panic attack. When the groom arrived, he was shocked to find his bride in a state of undress, pacing around the room in her undergarments. This traumatic experience left a lasting impact on Maria Josepha, who never forgave her husband for his behavior on their wedding night. These stories are a testament to the fact that even in the most lavish,